Hello and welcome to the transcription explanation of this design. It was done using the script shown above me, which uses a combination of different letter stems, which are the things shown above my finger here, where in the top row there's like a horseshoe shape, the second row is a floating circle, the third row is a shallow divot, like someone took a bite out of a cookie, and then in the bottom row we have a circle that crosses our word circle line. And I'll refer to these letter stems when I go through each of the consonants, as well as talk about the modifiers. So each of these are in a column based on what is above it. So above this column, there's nothing. So there's no dots or lines on those. But on top of these letters, there are some dots, and the number of dots determines what column it's in. And then in these last three columns are line modifiers, and those lines count where they end on a letter stem. With that being said, vowels. Vowels are these little guys, they're over here, and an A is positioned externally outside our word circle. E's, I's, and U's are all centered, so that means they're on the line of the word circle or centered in the middle of a consonant. O's are internal, so they're floating inside the word circle or attached on the line of the consonant stem inside the word circle. And then E's and U's are different because a U has a line going outwards, where an E and an I is different because an I has a line going inwards. So that line direction matters on the I and U vowels. Otherwise, line direction doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and get to reading this design. So I set it up in a pretty classic linear style, and it should be very Gallifreyan reminiscent, and also a very usable design on a bunch of different things. I personally think I might use it on some bracelets like this, but let's go ahead and read it. So you read this script starting at the bottom and you go counterclockwise, like a time traveler going back in time. And that's true for the letters in the words as well as words in a sentence. And if we imagine an infinitely large sentence and we go bottom counterclockwise around that, you're just going to be going left to right because, bottom counterclockwise, the first direction you go is left. So this circle here is not a word. It's just the two line modifiers coming from this S. Our first actual word circle is this little guy in here. And at the bottom of our word circle, our first letter is a little guy. So it's a vowel and it's outside the word circle. So here's our A. And then our next letter has 1, 2, 3 dots with it. See this one floating in here? So we're going to go to 3-dot column, and it's a floating circle, so it's in that second row, so it's the L. This shallow divot, like someone took a bite out of it, puts it in the third row with 1, 2 lines, so W. Another A outside the word circle. There's 2 dots on this letter, and it crosses our word circle. So unlike this one, which is floating inside our word circle, being an L, this one crosses our word circle and is a Y. So what matters is the word circle that it crosses. Like, yes, this circle crosses a line, but that line isn't a word circle. It's just the line modifiers coming from the W. And then our last letter, continuing around, is another shallow divot with 1, 2, 3 little lines on it. So like I said earlier, these 2 lines, they are just the line modifiers coming from the S. And same thing with this one. It's just a line coming from the S. So always. And then this word, starting at the bottom, we have this. This is a stack of letters. Letters in the same row, when they're next to each other in the word, can be stacked on top of each other. And that's what I did here. And you'll notice there's 2 very different line thicknesses. There's this really thin line here and this thick line here. And reading order is thin line to thick line. And there are different line thicknesses to show they're different letters. I could have 2 of the same thickness stacked, and that would show it's a double letter, 2 of the same letter. And this thin one, the one we read first, has no dots or lines on the shallow divot, so it would be a T, so in the third row, first column. And then we have a thick one with some dots. Now, to figure out which letters these dots go to, we look at the letter that they're closest to. So this dot definitely goes with that divot. This one goes here. This one is still way closer here than to this word, to this letter stem. But this one is now closer to that one, and this one is closer to that one. So we have 3 with this one and 2 with this one. So 3 dots on a shallow divot is an R, so TR, and then our last letter crosses with 2 dots. So it's another Y, just like that Y here. So there's try. These letters I stuck into one sentence circle just because they were small words and I didn't want to make a super amount of emphasis on them because they're relatively simple words, and I still wanted them to visually flow within the design. So instead of doing little tiny sentence circles around each of these words, I just did a sentence circle around both words. So this word, starting at the bottom, we have a shallow divot with nothing on it, so that's a T, and then a little guy internal inside our word circle, so that's the O, so that's 2. And then this word, starting at the bottom, our only set of letters are these two here. We have a deep divot with no modifiers, making it a B, and I'm going to go ahead and not make those super sharp. Anytime I have a deep divot in this, I tend to make them a little duller, because I can make them pointy or I can make them dull, and I think that this would look a little better if done like that. So anyway, tangent aside, that's a deep div with no modifiers, so that would be a B, and then our E is centered inside the center of our consonant. So to B, and then this sentence circle contains this word circle here. Bottom of it's here. We go around until we hit this letter. It's positioned around here, and there is one line on it. These other lines cross it, so they don't count. One line on a floating circle is an N. This I has a line going inwards. Continuing around, this is our comma on our sentence circle, and then this shallow divot here, this one, has this thick line ending on it, this thin line, this thin straight line, and then this other thick line. Yeah, it's okay that this thick line ends on it twice. You can curve a line around to have it count twice because it ends twice. Lines have two ending points. So 1, 2, 3 lines is an S, and this word being nice typically is written with a C. However, in this script, the letter C didn't actually used to exist, so you have to switch the letter C to an S or a K or even a CH or SH, depending on the sound the letter C makes. So that's why Sirkles, Sirkles, is spelled like that. It's because in the original classic script, there was no letter C. We have a letter C now, as you see above me, and that's mostly for doing proper nouns or acronyms. But yeah, that's the letter S swapped from the letter C. And then we have a E at the end of that circle. It is centered on the line of the word circle. And then we have this deep divot on our next word. So it's another B, except we have a vowel with a line going outwards attached to it. So that's a U. And then we have a shallow divot with no modifiers, so a T, so but. And then we have N with one line on it, E centered, V with one line, another E, and an R shallow divot with 3 dots. So never. This word, I'm quite happy with how it turned out. We have a deep divot, horseshoe shape in the top row with 1, 2, 3 line modifiers, so 3 line column. So F, continuing around. Here's a vowel outside the word circle, so that's an A. The I with a line going inwards, and then 1, 2, 3 dots on the L, so fail. And then we have another 2B done very similar, shallow divot T, O floating inside our word circle. B, deep divot, no modifiers. I didn't include the E. I wanted to fill a little bit more space in, so that E is over there, so B, E. And then our very last word here, starting at the bottom, we have 2 dots on the K. Continuing around, this is our period at the end of the sentence. You can tell it's a period because it's on the sentence circle, and it's empty in the middle. But K, then I, line going inwards. This N has its one line here, so the I line and the N line. And yes, we can curve lines. We've done curvy lines before in this design, but I like this little swirl here. And then our D has 1, 2, 3 dots. So K-I-N-D, kind, period. This is not the first time I've done this design. You can explore on my YouTube channel and just search for other variations that have these. But this is the first time I've done it in a classic, regular, linear style. The closest thing I had was this one, which is a bit more of a tapered and fancy linear style. And then this one is kind of linear. It's a mix between linear and circular over here. And then this one is definitely circular. So yeah, that is that. And it's really cool, I think, in the script how we can have the exact same phrase written so many different ways, but still be perfectly legible using the rules of the grid above me. Thanks for watching. I hope you like your design. Bye.